Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Plus Three Futures and Commodities Midweek Podcast. We are recording here on the 26th of November at 3:22 Eastern Time. My name's Ben Maldonado. As always, I'm joined here with Barry Hederachi. Barry, are you staying awake this week?
I'm trying.
It's
Friday,
probably
no
gonna
guarantees,
Yeah,
but
it's probably going to be a very brief show because not a lot has happened in the last 2 days. But let's dive in. Let's take a look and see if any new levels or any new key insights that we need to focus on as we head into the Thanksgiving holiday. You see the SPX there banging up against that half square.
looking like what they call a double top, right?
Right.
But we actually made a little bit of a high yesterday, right? We
Hmm.
poked through, but didn't really get get above and settle above in that sense.
Hmm.
So 60-20 is still our level. Let's watch it. Let's see what happens. And one of the things that we watch always is how when things get boring, that's when everything sort of starts to happen. And I
Yep.
feel like this is sort of a setup. I think we should really watch it post Thanksgiving. So maybe not Friday, but definitely come Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We
Hmm.
should probably watch it really closely.
They are kind of lulling us to sleep, aren't they?
Absolutely. So you really have to watch that. And then look at the spot we're in. We had all these cycles come up at the high earlier this month, and we
Hmm.
had the Rebel Yell cycle, a bunch of other cycles hit, and all we got was a little bit of a correction for a couple of days, and we're back right at the same level now. That alone is not something unusual. So what we want to know is, well, what happens here?
Hmm.
There's only a couple of things that can happen at this point. We don't have a lower high, so that's scratched out. There's only two choices left. Either we get on top of 60-20 and we settle up here
Hmm.
on the SPX, or we do a false break and we come down.
Hmm.
And if today we don't make a new high, then we have it. We're a couple of these markets are just going home with the inside bar for tomorrow. So let's see how it moves. I'm guessing because it's Thanksgiving, at least we're going to probably try to grind it up there and close on a high note. That's what I'm. That's why I'm a little bit concerned about after Thanksgiving. So I think that's really should be the focus here. It's not a big deal. We know the numbers. We've been in this area for a while. We know the levels. Everything's okay. But I think post Thanksgiving is the time, like the window to watch. Because that'll set up the next couple of weeks. I think, even going into December.
And to
Main,
add fuel to the fire, there's going to be like lighter volumes. It'll be more easily manipulated. So Lord knows what they're going to do.
yeah, we could definitely get some quick moves, and you know how it.
Shenanigans.
Yep, yep. But regardless, this 60-20 is really the level to watch. We had
Hmm.
a little bit of a buffer in there saying, it should really get on top of that before we can expect higher. And that happens to be 60.57. That's the upper end of that zone. So
Hmm.
ideally, we want to be on top of that, but I'd like to see it at least settle above it and we can take it from there. For now, there's not much to do other than to see, because we're basically stuck here, right? 2 days we're stuck.
Yep.
So not a whole lot. We just want to see what sort of like what happens next. Let's take a look at the futures. Pretty much the same story. We're at the same level. Here we have a lower high and an inside bar so far, and we'll see how that pans out. But either way, the deal is still the same. We want to see what happens after Thanksgiving.
Hmm.
So I think that's sort of the keynote here. Looking at the Dow futures, look who's all, we're up at 44,953, pushing higher. And if we can settle above that 50% line, I'm not going to argue with it.
Agreed.
That's at 44,906. I mean, we're definitely pushing past into the upper part of the zone here, which was the 50% level. And so we'll see what happens there. So everything's getting pushed up into Thanksgiving is sort of the feel that I got, looking at everything. Same here with the continuous chart for the mini. We're right there. When I say right there, I'm talking about at the 50% level, which is 60
Hmm.
30.
Hmm.
And we've been flirting with this for a couple of weeks. went down to 58.92, a couple of 3-4 days, came back up. So now we're up in this end. Did you notice how freely we move between these two levels?
Yeah.
Because when on the way up, we stalled here, at the same zone. Then we blew through, stalled here, stalled back at 58.92. Now we're back up here. So I guess the question is, are we going to stall, or are we going to do some kind of a tricky pattern? So either way, we have to settle above or below that. So 60.26 is the level based on the daily chart. So we'll have to we'll deal with it when we get there. So one chart that wasn't too boring was a 30-minute chart. We can take a quick look at that. It's probably the most active looking.
Right.
And here, since the 19th, the low came in. We've been putting in higher lows and moving higher. We're holding the trend line. We're going up in a nice channel. And we took the levels pretty well, like as far as the geometry goes and the levels go. So we opened up in the close to 60.15, stalled there, ran up to 60.37. You can see right there. Counter trend back in to check the 50.92 area. Anyway, by the time, last night we recovered, the pullback held. And this morning, you can see 60.15 area held right there. And now we're pressed up against 60.37, 33.75 right now. So we still have 30 minutes to go. And that's what's happening. So what we've had is kind of a sloppy but steady upwards move. And I made a couple of notes this week saying, if we can basically cover, above 59.92, we're in a pretty, it's a pretty good place. It's not a weak place. And from there, if we can clear 60.37, it really, it wouldn't take much to get up and tap the 50% level at 60.84. It looks like a tall order, but you never know how fast that can go. So anyway, that's what's here to talk about. And I guess the level we're taking into tomorrow and onward would be 60.37. We'll have to see how it behaves. So basically, if we can settle above it, we're looking at 60.84. If we are under it, well, you can see what happens, and we can probably consolidate and build up here. That's kind of what I'm thinking. We haven't really seen any weakness. So any weakness we'll have to see tomorrow or Friday, maybe Sunday, Monday, to see if we're going to sell off, or we're going to continue on. I don't know what, into Christmas.
It's just a holiday grind, it looks like right there.
Absolutely. It's kind of been a grind, coming in from last week, right? This was more sloppy. Now it's a little bit less volatile, but sloppy nonetheless. Anything you want to add to that, Ben?
No, I think it's just a grind. We watch those levels and see how the price acts when it hits them. It's all you can do.
Yeah, and I know you're going to cover the NASDAQ, but here's the 30-minute. Basically, it's also holding the trend line, and it's stuck at its own level, which is 20,990.
Yep.
We've tried to poke, but you can see we're kind of coming into a squeeze here. Either we squeeze up and settle, or we're going to squeeze and fail, or just fail altogether. So we'll see how that pans out. So here's our daily chart with all the geometry and the Gartley. Well, this is for a Gartley. It's rare that you see some kind of a double top coming in after a Gartley. So that means a Gartley is probably weak, or that's really not what's really in play. It's just one aspect, right? Just happened to be there. But the thing, it's a square. We're 120 degrees up. You can see we're tapping it twice. So it's something by 150. So that square is still in place. And we're just waiting for resolution, one way or the other. So we'll see how that works out. You can see the up channel is also it's got a lot of room to run up or come down. I mean, we can correct down to 58.50 roughly, all the way going into December, or 58.40, 58.60, and you'll still be within the up channel. And if we turn down, I already kind of drew the channels and we'll see how it works out. We turn here. That's it for the indices. Not much happened. We're pretty much at the same level, so not much to add. But bonds, just to cover a couple of things quickly, bonds squared out this 45 by 45, so we're expecting some kind of a correction.
And we're getting a little reaction off that.
It's getting, getting a little reaction. So 122 would be the 50% level, and even under that, bonds are more or less weak. And 119 and a half, let's say, would be the level to watch, the next major level. So we
Hmm.
can do any kind of thing, anything here. We'll have to watch the pattern. I mean, the better move was here. I'm not so sure if we're gonna start a whole new bull leg here, but I'm looking at this 1918 to be the first, let's say the tripwire, right?
Hmm.
Or we take out the 45 to the downside. So we're watching that. Crude, not much. We're crawling up the trend line, another triangles upon triangles. So again, this is the time not to fall asleep. You can see we're contracting, we're making smaller and smaller moves, and the triangles are getting a little bit, see that, see how tight we're getting.
Yep.
So at some point, one side or the other has to give.
And it'll be a big move.
It's going to be a good move. It's going to
Hmm.
be worth all
Hmm.
of this.
Hmm.
And I'm, obviously 73.50 is sort of the tripwire for that, for the upside. And below 64.75 is where we open up the possibility maybe to get into 61 and a half or 61.61 we have here. That's sort of the zone down here. We'll see what happens, but right now it's perfectly going sideways. So not a whole lot to do. Gold ran up. We have a lower high in place. 26.96 was the level. Really couldn't really hold above that. We turned down right at the 3/4 level on that
Hmm.
square. So it could be consolidating, maybe another triangle before moving
Or
high,
an ABCD down.
or
That
maybe
could,
down, right? Right.
yep.
Get us into, that'll get us into good structural support, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
Next, we have copper. Not much, still hugging the line here,
Yeah.
which is the 60-degree line. It's 405 is really the level. And we talked about how if the ABCD gets taken out, which is basically 399, 4, then we could go a lot lower. But long as we're consolidating here, it's got some hope.
Hmm.
Dollar, well, we the ABCD basically was the attractor, I guess. And we did do the false break, like we were talking about.
Yep.
Not a big move in the opposite direction, so we'll watch it. If we hold the basic trend lines, and again, we're right on the thing. So I'm not even sure what more to comment. It's at 107.15 is sort of the level here at 107. Just to be safe, I think if we settle about 107.25, then we can think about higher. But for now, I think it basically made a 60-degree move. So you know what I mean? Like if I move this, just to maybe show
Hmm.
you guys what happens right there. So that is a measured move for the dollar. So we'll just wait for it to correct and see what happens. I mean,
Yep.
if it corrects even to a third, that's not bad. 105.25. So that's the story for the dollar. And the euro also stalled out. But the really important thing here is we stalled out below a really key level here is 105.730. I just say 05730. And long as we're below that, euro is very weak. Next support is let's see, 02215. And the trend is definitely down. So we're watching that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
If it can't get over that 72, it's in deep trouble.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And we might end up doing from this high to a new low. I mean, we already made a new low for that cycle,
Hmm.
and we'll be 360 high to low. So that might be where we kind of cash out. So,
Hmm.
and if we can do that down by, 02 184, down in this area, it'll be good. So we're watching that. Still weak below that level. Yeah, we have a couple of the midweek. We can hit on these really quick for
Hmm.
5 minutes. Russell, I know we've had requests, so wow, what can I say? We're kind of in the same, really no big clarity here because we're just poking above. We have a false break as of today. I mean, how often can you talk about these things on the Russell? But it's really every few years. But,
Yeah.
and here we are. We have a false break from the 2021 high. We'll see how this resolves. It's going to be interesting. For now, above 2400 it's okay. It's better than being stuck below that. But we're watching it closely, mainly because the price action and sort of the overall pattern is could go either way. So we're
Hmm.
watching to see if we can settle above it or not. If we can settle above, sure, we can trade the rest of it. If it fails here, then I guess we're back to 2036. It
Right.
seems to be the big balance point, mean reversion point for the last 4 years, really. So that's what's happening there. 10-year, pretty much the same thing as you saw in the 30, the square of 90. We came down 45. Looks like we corrected. It's a decent correction. So
Hmm.
it's a decent move. So let's see how this corrects. The yen we talked about, well, a week ago, and that was about how the yen was squaring out, which was his 135 by 45, and looks like it's got some traction. We made a high, came back, made a lower high right there, and now we're trading lower. And looking at where the dollar was, a potential false break, and how close euro is, looks like everybody's trying to get adjusted. And in the meantime, we could definitely correct all the way down to 150.70. Let's see, 150.80
Hmm.
is the 90 degrees up from the low. So that should provide really good. Long as it's above that, the dollar is definitely strong. So let's take it. Let's play it like that. These are regional banks.
Regional banks. Yep.
Well, look, they're not doing too badly.
No.
So what happened here was, we had a triangle, and as soon as we covered this about every couple times a month, maybe maybe 3 times last month we covered. So anyway, we're up above 90. We were talking about being bullish, and we broke that triangle to the upside. Another triangle broke it to the upside, got above this 60 was a level we had marked, that green dotted line, and well, we shot right through that. And now I would say the banks are in a good place. I'm not sure exactly what that means, Ben. If maybe we should look into that.
Hmm.
But banks are doing pretty well. And the next resistance is 72.70, and any corrections above 60 is still very bullish. And any kind of a correction here, it's definitely, you can see it's on the upper half of the square. So it's in a much stronger place than when it was in lower, even
Hmm.
visually, right, Ben? It's easy to see
For sure.
what happened there. So they're doing good. They're doing well. Miners, well, they gave it a shot. It ran up for 36 days and now correcting. Let's see if we can get above the 48 here. If we can get above 48 and hold above, they might have a shot of moving higher. For now, it looks like it's correcting, but the correction is not that radical. So let's see how it works out. For now, we're waiting to see if we can hold above 48. Other than that, because of the 36-day run, it's possible that we correct for a little bit longer. We have good structural support at 44, so it's possible we hold above that. Uranium, yay. Look
Right
at
up
that.
to the half square.
And the amazing thing is how that expanding triangle is working out.
Oh, yeah.
If I can get it to stay still.
Hmm.
Right? Look at that. The interesting thing is, yeah, we went up and tapped the line, but we also happened to tap the 50% of the square.
Yep.
So I think we're probably going to cool off a little bit. And if it's running really hot, then 56.33 is the level we have to hold above. Otherwise, any normal correction down to 50.50, which is 180 degrees up from the 2020 low, would be very good support. And above that 180, clearly very bullish. And everybody got aboard, and there you go. And Ben, we talk about markets bottoming. I mean, here's the bottom, right? If you look at from 2016, 17, 18, 19,
Yep.
20, right there,
Hmm.
flashed out, did the false break against the 2016 low. See that right there?
Yep.
CJ right there. And after that, off to the races, man. And look at that. We went from 450 to over $60, right? So,
Nice.
yeah, very nice. And that's the payback for watching, right? Watching these markets, and especially
Watching all
watching.
that's enduring all that sideways from 17 to 20,
Absolutely.
2017 to 20.
And we know one market that's doing it now, which is natural gas. So,
Hmm.
and some of the grains, right?
Yep.
have to watch that. Well, that's all the short stuff, little stuff.
Okay.
No, that's all I got. Let me put it back to you. Cover the
Okay.
rest.
So here's the NQs.
Mm-hmm.
Last 2 days, we've been trying to, push above, but if you look, we're still straddling the bar here. The
Mm-hmm.
full square, 20,838. We've been pushing up against this thing for a week and a half, as you can see. But we want to clear this. We want to see a low bar that, stays above 20,838 to know that we've captured this. For now, it's the jury's still out, the battle's still ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll show you the weekly because the weekly, you can see we're right up against it,
Right.
2182. See, we're right up against that half square.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at the daily, take like an eighth the square right there. That's really the band
Right.
right here. And so we're tapping the eighth, the 1/8 square up here. We got to see if we can clear it. So many cycles came in at this high, and we're
Mm-hmm.
we're pushing up. Are we going to make a lower high? Are we going to, make a higher high? The verdict's still out because right now we're still battling here.
And it's interesting, right? Dow futures are making new highs, and NASDAQ sort of dragging the whole thing, can't even get up to a even price.
And this was the leader, right? This was the leader in here.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It's to be determined yet. Anything else you want to add here on NQs?
Well, I think it's the same thing I was mentioning for the S&P, just watching, because, until that high gets taken out, technically this is a lower high.
That's
Sure, it's
correct.
sloppy. Sure, it wasn't as quick as some of these other times we get fast moves. Nonetheless, it doesn't have to be a fast move coming off of a lower high. It could be just be a rolling, sloppy downward correction.
That's
So I
correct.
think we really have to watch this after Thanksgiving is my sort of gut feel.
Agreed. The next few days of holiday trading are going to be pretty worthless. But anyway, let's last thing I've got to do is let's look at Bitcoin. Because
Yeah.
you and I were talking last night and you told me to look at this big ABCD and
Mhm.
damn, look at that.
Well, it definitely hit the target. Can't
It
say.
hit the target and we're getting a reaction.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what you want to see when you complete a Gartley or an ABCD. You don't want to see it hang around here. You want to see it react and get out of there. And it really is.
Mhm.
Today we're
Right on
right
support.
on right on half square support, 91,047. So if we hold this, we could push back up towards this 96.6. If not, next support is full square at 85. And you and I were talking, we could pull all the way back here to 73 and still be bullish. That's
Yeah,
the
in the
irony
big picture,
in the
sure.
big
Sure.
picture,
Yeah, yeah.
because you'd be sitting on top of this, sitting on top of all this stuff here, including these highs, that we made in February, March this year. But I want to also show the monthly because we only have about 2 trading days left.
Look at that.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
I think it's pretty good. Yeah.
I mean, it overshot like these things can do, but the key thing is, does the circle contain the bar? Not the wick, but the bar.
Mhm.
So and you also have a half square here working at 93,000. So if both of those things, if we stay below both, like stay inside the circle and below that, we could still be starting a correction the next few months. And as we
It
as
could
we
be
talked about also, if you look at the thrust, 1, 2, 3, 4,
five.
5.
I mean, that
So
adds up nice, beautifully. Everything adds up. So we could have something there. And
yeah,
and Bitcoin was in peak news, man. It was tied to the election, the crypto, da da da. All
Michael
the drum.
Saylor borrowing money to buy more. I mean, it's all
Hmm.
there.
Hmm.
It's
The
going to
whole
a,
drumbeat was there.
it's
So
going to 1 million.
makes
So,
sense.
and it may at some point, but it just, it's not going straight there. That's for sure.
But that's the kind of talk you get at a high when, especially at the huge monthly ABCD or something coming in, right?
Yep.
You'd expect people to be bullish.
And I mean, I don't, Bitcoin hasn't been around that long for all these counts and everything. But look, if you take it from this point in 2017, to the high, it's
Hmm.
90 months.
Man, you can't argue with that, right?
That's 90
Hmm.
months.
Hmm.
It might be nothing, but it's 90 months.
Yeah.
And 90 months doesn't come up, you know.
And that 22 is no
No, and that's from the lows here,
mhm.
right? To the high is 22.
Yeah.
That's also a decent harmonic. There's actually a harmonic of 90, 22, 45, 90.
What is it high to high? The high in 21.
Let's see. If we look at it, it looks like it's about,
You can
I don't
duplicate
know.
the counter and just put it up there.
Yeah, let's see. This is how the sausage is made.
36. Look at that.
That's another good one, right?
Damn good one, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of counts there.
Well, especially for a monthly 36, you don't want to ignore that.
No,
That's
that's 3 years.
yeah, yeah, definitely in play.
So,
And so is 24. If you drag out your 22, you
yeah,
get 24,
you can get
which is
24 here.
also important for a monthly. It's 2 years.
Yep.
So wow, looks good. Numbers are
I
adding
mean,
up.
there's
They're
a
adding
lot of
up.
harmonics there. The
Hmm.
thing I'm more interested in is right now is this price action, right?
Yeah.
If we stay below 93 on a monthly close and we're in the circle, we're going to get some sort of reaction.
Hmm.
And on the daily, we got to watch these levels here to see if they hold. So, and that's it. I mean, the only other thing I would say, I'm not going to show it, but we'll talk about it on the weekend show is, coffee is continuing to march higher,
Hmm.
as we had called out the last few weeks. So, other than that, it looks super quiet and super controlled right now if you're looking at the markets. I mean, anything else you got to add, Barry? That's really all I got so far for
Well,
the
we
for
got
the week.
about 5 minutes. I was going to say, we were talking earlier this week or last week about how, people, when something's squaring out, people say, well, that looks bullish. Why do you think it could go down?
True. Yeah.
And then we got to talk about, well, how do you know? I mean, at what point do you think something is bearish? And usually it's bearish when it's already moved well away from the high.
Hmm.
And so then we got into the conversation. Remember that we were talking about, well, how do people define this? And it's something important. And I guess a lot of people use moving averages. Some people use, I don't know. I think there are a ton of techniques out there to figure out if the trend has changed. So
Right. Right.
maybe we can talk
Distinguish
about that.
between the bull and bear.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, why don't we save that for the weekend when we have a little more time? Because I think that's hard to do in a little less than
In
five
five
minutes.
minutes. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, the thing about the midweek is it's a holiday week. You still got to watch the levels, and if
Hmm.
price and you respect them, if price exceeds them or gets stuck under them,
Hmm.
it's a signal. It doesn't matter that it's a holiday because price is price. So
What we can do is in the meantime, if you guys want to comment, participate, tell us how you know when the market has changed the trend. That'd be
yeah,
nice because
it'd be
we hardly
interesting in
ever ask
hearing
questions.
different methods. Yeah.
Exactly. And then we can kind of do around, we can do a collection of that and talk about it on Friday.
So make sure to share the links with your friends, subscribe, ring the bell, help us grow the channel. We appreciate that. And we're glad to, put the content out. Wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Barry, and your family. And we'll talk to you over the weekend after our bellies are full of turkey.
It sounds good. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Happy Thanksgiving, Ben. And we'll talk to you soon.
We'll talk to you after Thanksgiving on Friday.
Yep. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care.